What's going on, guys? Nathan here. Today I'm going to give you 9 easy ways for poker beginners to start winning quickly at poker. Let's jump right into it. Alright guys, so today I'm going to give you 9 quick ways, including charts, diagrams, and everything you need to know, example hands to get you quickly winning at poker. Let's jump in, counting down from 9 to 1. Here we go. Number 9 is to understand what hands to play. There's no point in getting into any strategy first before we nail this, so I'm going to give you charts right off the bat here for both 9-player and 6-player games. Let's start with 6 max, the most popular game in online poker these days, and I put the image on your screen there. As you can see, I suggest playing roughly the top 20% of all hands that are dealt to you, and this is all of the hands that are in red on your screen here. This includes all pocket pairs. That means every hand from pocket aces all the way down to pocket twos. This includes nearly all Broadway hands, that is any 2 cards 10 and above. As you can see, I've also included all suited aces down to ace deuce suited there. And by the way, when I say suited, I'm talking about both cards in your hand have the same suit. So for example, ace deuce of hearts, both cards are hearts. In addition to this, there are a number of suited connectors with a hand like jack 10 suited, for example. You can mix and match a little bit, guys, add in a 10-9 suited if you like here and there, but guys, if you play a tight range like this, you're going to have success in your 6-player games. Let's talk about 9-player games now, because a lot of people play those in the casino. These are the hands that I would suggest playing now. This is the top 15% of all hands dealt to you. Once again, all pocket pairs, nearly all Broadways, and a lot of suited aces, and a couple suited connectors. Now, a lot of people will say to me, but Nathan, this is way too tight. I'm going to get bored sitting around waiting for these hands. But guys, I'm guessing that you clicked on this video because you wanted to learn how to win at poker quickly. And I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but in order to be a consistent winner in poker, it does require a lot of discipline. It's not fun. It's not the $1 million final tables that they show you on YouTube or on TV. As somebody who's been a professional poker player for over 10 years myself, I can tell you that this is a job, and you need to play a tight, disciplined range like this if you want to have success. Now, as you build more experience in poker and start getting better post-flop skills, we're going to talk about that in a second, you can start adding to this list. But for those of you beginners out there who are just starting out, if you want to start having success right away, there is nothing more important than studying these charts right here and starting with a very disciplined, tight range. All right, guys, let's move on to thing number 7 now to help you beginners start quickly winning at poker, and that is to do not play high stakes. This is another one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of newbies to the game of poker make these days. Guys, you need to understand that mid and high stakes these days are chock full of world-class professionals. It is not the weekend warriors, it's not the hobbyists, it's not the people who are just learning the game. No, it's professionals. It's people who play this game for a living. In many cases, they have been studying and playing this game for years. And yes, they're going to beat you quickly, and it's going to make you discouraged. And that is why I always suggest for beginners in particular to simply start at the lowest stakes. Guys, you can always move up. In fact, I would highly recommend that you move up quickly. Now, of course, as long as you have the bankroll, but when you start at the lowest stakes games, not only are you going to be playing against other beginners, which is going to give you the best chance of winning, you are also going to be able to learn the fundamentals. And if you do face some losses in the beginning, it's only going to be a very small amount of money, which will make it a very cheap learning experience for you. So if you play online poker, guys, I would suggest starting at the very lowest stakes, which is 1 cent, 2 cent blind cash games. And if you want to play tournaments, I would suggest playing $2 tournaments. And if you play live in the casino, I would suggest playing $1, $2 cash games. Those are usually the lowest limit, and $20 tournaments, as you will often find in live casino games if you want to play tournaments. Guys, bottom line, just like with the starting hand selection we just talked about, it is very important to stay disciplined and humble off the start. Do not try to jump into high stakes games and think you're some sort of hero in this game. Not only is it going to be a very expensive mistake for you, but it's also going to really hurt your ego, because the world-class professionals in those games are probably going to take your chips very quickly. All right, let's move on to some actual strategy now. So tip number 6 for you poker beginners is to always raise first in the pot. This is another big thing that I find that a lot of newbies to the game struggle with, is understanding, guys, that aggressive poker is winning poker. When you just limp into the pot, as a lot of people like to do, and that, by the way, is the act of just calling the blind pre-flop. If you play home games, you've probably seen this a million times. However, guys, this is entering the pot in a passive manner. This is basically announcing to the table that you are weak, that you can be pushed around easily, and I absolutely eat these players for breakfast. I raise them up every single time, and I've literally made a career out of beating players who limp too much. So I would suggest that you do the opposite and let the table know that you mean business every single time you enter the pot. For example, you're playing in a $1, $2 cash game, you've got ace king, you should raise it up to $6. Why $6? Because that is 3 times the big blind, which the big blind in this case is $2, and I would suggest raising 3 times the big blind as a default strategy in any poker game. You can adjust once again up or down depending on your game conditions. I've made other videos here on the channel talking about that, but let's move on to thing number 5 that all beginners can do to start winning at poker fast, and that is to only go all in pre-flop with a premium hand. Now guys, what is a premium hand? Premium hand is pocket aces, pocket kings, pocket queens, pocket jacks. Some people put pocket tens on there. Ace king is also included on there. Some people put ace queen on there. I think you guys get the idea. It's a handful, maybe the top 5, top 10 best hands that you can possibly be dealt in poker. All right guys, so assuming 100 big blinds, okay? So in a $1, $2 cash game, 100 big blinds would be $200. $2 times 100. This is the stack size in most cash games these days and also the beginning stages of tournaments. If you are in a situation where it is being raised and re-raised pre-flop, I would only suggest going all in. That is putting all of your stack in the middle with one of those premium hands that I just talked about. Do not make the mistake, like a lot of amateurs, of going all in pre-flop with a hand like ace jack suited or pocket nines, because guys, you need to realize that most decent players these days are only going to be risking all of their chips with a premium hand as well. And therefore, if you risk all of your chips with one of these good but not premium hands, you're going to be at a significant statistical disadvantage. And this is where a lot of beginners wind up costing themselves a lot of money. So guys, keep it extremely tight. Okay, when we're talking about playing for all of the money pre-flop, this is not even going to happen very often, but you need to have an extremely strong hand. Now, before I move on, I just want to be crystal clear. I'm talking about 100 big blinds here. If you're playing in a tournament and you're deep in the tournament and you've only got around 20 big blinds, yes, you absolutely need to go all in pre-flop with a hand like ace jack or pocket nines. But in all typical normal situations, early in the tournament or in cash games, anytime in a cash game, you should not be going all in pre-flop with hands like that. All right, guys, let's move on to thing number 4 that you can start doing right away to quickly improve your results at the poker table. Guys, I've talked about this one a million times. This is literally how I've been able to create some of the highest winnings of all time, especially in small and mid-stakes cash games on the internet, and that is targeting the fish, the recreational players. Guys, if you take nothing else from this video, please understand that all of the money in poker comes from these weaker players, the players who are playing far too many hands, making all sorts of egregious mistakes by calling down with bottom pair, chasing every draw, and so on. I'm sure you've seen these players already if you've played any amount of poker. So guys, we already talked about how you should be playing roughly 15 to 20% of your hands. Well, fish take this to a whole new level and they'll play 55% of their hands. As you can see there, I put an image on your screen. Now I'm using a HUD here. Now this is a program that you can use in online poker. I will link up the HUD that I use in the description below if you want to get these numbers on your screen. But basically you can focus on the player at my table here who is in blue. I have marked this player in blue because they are playing a crazy 55% of their hands. That is what VPIP stands for. In online HUDs, voluntarily put money in pot, just a fancy term that we use there. And they are raising an equally crazy 18% of their hands, as that is what the stat PFR indicates. So you will also hopefully notice, my name is BlackRain79, that I am on the direct left of this player, meaning that I'm going to have direct position on this recreational player nearly every single hand at the poker table. And guys, this is literally a money printer at the table. If you want to win at poker, this is it in a nutshell right here. Mic drop, video over, you don't need to know anything. But no, we got 3 more points coming up here. All right, guys, so let's get into the post-flop strategy now. So we've talked about pre-flop a lot. Let's talk about the flop now. That is the first 3 community cards that come up. You should be making a flop continuation bet most of the time. So guys, we have already talked about what hands to play. We've talked about being aggressive when you're entering the pot. We've also talked about trying to get in a lot of pots with our fishy friends here. So what you want to be doing is making a flop continuation bet. Now let me unpack this for you. A continuation bet is making a bet on the flop and we are continuing the aggression that we've already started before the flop. So let me give you an example. You have ace king and you get one color and the flop comes down with a 10 of clubs, 5 of diamonds, and 4 of hearts. So we didn't actually hit anything on this board, but where a lot of beginners will go wrong here is that they will just choose to check. Guys, instead, you should be making a c-bet, continuation bet, of roughly around 50% of the pot here. And the simple reason why is because that our opponent is going to miss this flop 2 out of 3 times on average, and therefore with a small bet, $5 into $10 for example, we can often just take the pot down right away. And this is literally the bread and butter of winning poker. But a lot of people ask me, but Nathan, what if they call you on the flop? They always call me on the flop. So let's talk about that right now. So guys, number 2, you should be double barreling the weaker regs. So honestly guys, this has been one of my number 1 most profitable strategies over the last several years, and that is realizing what turn cards and what player types to continue firing at to make them lay down their hand. Let me give you an example. Once again, we're going to use the exact same example. You've got ace king, same flop, 10 5 4. Remember, we didn't hit anything on this board. We don't have any draw, we don't have any pair, but the turn comes with the jack of diamonds. So what should you do in a spot like this? Well guys, you want to bet again. This is what we call a double barrel, and notably we want to bet 75% of the pot this time. So pot's $20 for example, bet $15 in this situation. Why do we bet more now on the turn? The reason why you want to make it 75% of the pot here guys is because you want to let them know you're serious. You want to strike the fear of God into them. You want to let them know that this is starting to get really expensive for them. And what do weaker regulars do? And I should unpack that, by the way. A weak reg, this is not a recreational player. Remember, we don't want to be bluffing those players because they call too much. No, a regular is one of these normal players that is watching videos like this, who takes the game seriously and who is trying to win. And what I mean by weak is somebody who is risk averse, who doesn't like to play a big pot without a very strong hand. So hopefully you guys are putting the pieces of the puzzle together here to see where I'm going with this. This jack represents another big card that is likely in our range. When we raise pre-flop, a lot of people will put us on big cards like a jack, for example, ace, king, queen. So if this player was hanging on with a hand like pocket eights, for example, or maybe a hand like 6-5, or even a hand as strong as a 10, when we make another bet here, we can often convince one of these weaker players to simply fold their hand right now, and we can win the pot in this situation. Guys, bottom line, aggressive poker is winning poker. Look for spots like this where there is a scary card on the turn and you're up against one of these risk-averse regular opponents who doesn't like to play a big pot without a very strong hand, and keep the aggression up in these spots, and I think you're gonna have a lot more success. Let's move on to the number 1 thing, guys, to get you quickly winning at poker, and that is to don't allow yourself to tilt. Guys, I've discussed this many times. You can study all of the strategy in the world. It literally doesn't mean anything if you cannot learn to control your emotions in the moment in a game like poker. This is literally what separates poker from so many other games, is that you're going to get unlucky sometimes in this game. I'm sure you've had this happen to you before, even when you do the right thing. This is called a bad beat, and this is what keeps the bad players coming back for more and reloading their chip stack and ultimately funding the entire industry, including your profits at the poker table. But they will get lucky sometimes, guys. It's simply the way the game works. For example, you've got the best hand ever created, pocket aces. If somebody wants to go all in pre-flop versus you, they're still going to have close to 20% chance to win, guys. And it's not a shocker when that comes through. That's 1 out of 5 times. So guys, you need to make peace with this absolutely fundamental part of the game. This is why so many people struggle to win, is because they fly off the handle when their aces lose in a situation like this, and especially when it happens several times in a row. Guys, as I always say, predict these things. Be ready for it. This is how the game is set up. You're going to lose sometimes, even when you did everything right. If you want to be highly successful in this game, you need to be prepared for this, and you need to keep your emotional cool when it inevitably happens. Guys, bottom line, when you get a bad beat at the poker table, it doesn't mean the site is rigged against you. It's actually just math. Alright guys, like and subscribe if you found this video helpful, and if you want to know my entire strategy strategy to crush the small and mid stakes games. Make sure you grab a copy of my free poker cheat sheet. That'll be the top link in the description below. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I will catch you next time.